Welcome to another exhilarating episode of Comic Book Straight Talk, brought to you from the secret basement inside one of America's oldest comic shops, Tulsa's own The Comic Empire. Now, true believers, open up your ear holes and get ready to have your head filled with the best comic book knowledge this galaxy can handle. That's right, it's time for another nerd overload with Comic Book Straight Talk.
Welcome back to Comic Book Straight Talk. This is Dalian.
Kenny.
Terry.
Harrington.
And we are recording live from a janitor closet aboard the Death Star.
It's going to be a short video because Death Stars don't usually last very long.
We want to get out of here. We're going to kind of tackle a subject, kind of the, I guess what do you call it, the diversity and the anger towards fans by creators, in a sense.
Comicgate and the main guy that has caused the controversy is diversity in comics.
Oh, okay. So, may not know about the Comicgate, as I was found out recently. It's the whole
animosity.
Yes, animosity is a word to use towards fans or customers.
I thought that was by Aftershock.
Animosity towards customers or comic fans by the creators.
What's Marguerite Bennett writing it?
Don't go there.
No.
I'm sorry.
No.
Yes. Talking about the comic.
Oh my God.
Yes.
So, as it was said, that and it's that they get the words in my mouth here. The animosity.
I understand the words that are coming out of my mouth.
You got Dal all flustered.
You did.
Now.
I'm flustered. I'll let Kenny take it. I'm getting unflustered.
So basically, Comicgate is that we had this. The last few years have been a push for diversity in comic books, and the fans kind of fighting back, saying we don't want that. We want Steve Rogers to be Captain America. If you want to make a black character, make a black character. If it's cool, we'll read it. Well, then the creators are saying, well, you're just racist. Well, and then the fans would back down because nobody wants to be called a racist. Even racists don't want to be called racist.
Yeah, and the fans weren't against diversity by any means.
Right.
They were just saying, make it good,
Think about who the comic buyers, the comic readers are.
Average white males between the age of 18 or 14 and 23.
Sure,
Roughly?
it's that young.
Roughly?
Yeah,
I'd say it's probably more closer to 25 to 45.
Probably.
We've
or
not
50,
aged well.
Yeah.
Of course we're going to read a comic book about a babe, okay? There's just the facts of the matter. And so to say that, comic readers don't want to read comics about women, that's garbage. Of course we're going to read a story about a woman, especially if it's a good story. So they're saying we don't want diversity in comics. We're racist, we're sexist, we're bigots. And the fans have started fighting back. And it caused a bunch of YouTube channels to pop up, one being Diversity and Comics. And I'd highly suggest you go and check out some of his videos. You may not agree with everything he says, but he brings up good points. And one of those points was that the fans are they're done being yelled at by creators. We're the customers, we're the ones spending money, and you're treating us like garbage. And I think anyone that's ever been to a convention has run into that with a creator. I understand, trust me, working in a comic shop, I understand that not all comic fans are up on
Hygiene
or social skills. But
and we're not saying that all creators are like this either.
No. Just certain ones.
Mark Wade.
Certain creators happen to be more vocal, okay, and they're running off customers. In the last year, 50 comic book shops have closed due to declining sales. And so you bring that up to the creators, and the creators are saying, well, they just don't know how to run a business. Well, you could have a PhD in business and go out of business with some of the product that Marvel has been putting out in the past couple of years.
And kind of on that note, you're talking about, we don't want this character taken. The whole, Riri Williams.
Yeah.
Or Jane Foster Thor. We've talked about those in the past on the shows, and, I have no problem reading a story about a young black female who wants to run around in an Iron Man suit.
Yeah.
great. I have no problem. I have no problem with him, Ironheart.
Well,
but if you want Tony Stark as Iron Man, period, and let him teach her. Work them together. The Jane Foster Thor, that has worked out real well. But I just it's a matter of time before we get the regular Thor back.
Well, I haven't really looked into it, but hasn't Marvel had declining sales as well?
Yes.
So Marvel's had declining sales.
So another thing is that last month DC sold more units than Marvel, but Marvel made more money. Well, because Marvel puts out $3.99 and $4.99 books, and DC's putting out $2.99 and $3.99. Okay, so they made more money than DC, so they're still. They still look at themselves as top of the mountain.
Right.
But DC actually sold more units. And if you look at their average sales, like 6 of the top 10 books were DC. One of them was Walking Dead from Image, and then the other 3 were Marvel books. And we're talking about Amazing Spider-Man. Amazing Spider-Man is a book that people come in and put on their list, even if they never read it. It's an automatic. It's like Batman. You automatically put that on your list, and it's not even in the top 5 books. I mean, X-Men books used to be no book could touch X-Men.
Used to be X-Men were like the top 2.
Yeah, it was Uncanny X-Men and X-Men, and the closest that DC could get was Batman, and he was always around 5 or 6. Yep. And now it's the opposite. Now I don't even think there's an X-Men book in the top 20. Is there?
I don't. Maybe Gold, but even then, it's going to be probably 15 or below. And the problem with all that is that it's. Marvel in the 90s had this thing that it's like they didn't care if the art or the story was so bad or what. It was that their mentality is that you're going to buy the book anyway because you buy it for the characters.
Right. And
I kind of want to see they're going kind of back to that away a little bit with this whole the diversity thing. And I just don't know really what the answer is, except the fans, like you say, rising up and going after the creators like that.
Well, you would think with the decline of Marvel sales, and Image actually continuing to rise, you would think they would see that we do like diversity.
Yeah.
What does Image bring? They bring a diversified comic with just different stories continually.
Right.
And majority of what I pick up is a lot of Image titles.
Right.
Because they've got new creators bringing up their own different stories. So you got fantasy, you got science fiction, you got noir. The Image is bringing all that. Marvel generally has superheroes.
Which I think that's kind of going back to what we're kind of dovetailed back into that was the fans did want diversity in a sense, but they want the same.
They don't want you getting rid of the characters they love for your diversity.
Right.
If you want to make a diverse character, you can make a character a black transsexual little person from Mexico. If the story's good, people will read it. They won't care about the diversity of the character. It doesn't matter.
See that now.
You kind of want to see that. You should get on to writing that.
I mean, everyone wants,
Well, we kind of did read this. Not exactly, but with Chimichanga, we had that was a pretty diverse character.
Yeah.
I mean, I understand everybody wants to have some of their race that they can identify with as a comic character.
Right.
I understand that. Whether you be white, black, yellow, whatever color you are. Like you said, make characters. In the 80s and 90s and 2000s, diversify comics was a big thing, for women writers to come in and get out of the whole, being the male alpha-driven industry. Women writers have come in. I know you don't like her. Bennett's somewhat okay of a writer. Gail Simone was a good writer on most stuff. But now we're coming back to where it's the racial diversity now.
Yeah. But even like Christopher Priest, if you notice, remember he used to write a lot of stuff for Marvel.
Mm-hmm. He did, yeah.
And then now he's writing for Valiant. Well, why is he writing for Valiant? Well, he himself will tell you that the reason he left Marvel was because they only wanted to give him black characters because he's black. And he was like, but I want to write, he might say, I want to write Spider-Man. Well, no, here, you can write Miles Morales.
Yeah.
Well, he doesn't, he wanted to get away from that. He wanted to write whatever he wanted to write. He didn't want to be pigeonholed into just writing black characters.
Because that's a stereotype. Kind
Right.
of thing. A black writer. Only a black writer can write a black hero.
Yeah.
No.
Well, if that's the case, then Batman and Iron Man are going to be the two most expensive comic books ever written, because it's going to be pretty hard to find a white billionaire playboy to write a comic book.
Bill Gates is in line to do that, I think, isn't he?
Mm-hmm. Would you consider Bill Gates a playboy?
I don't know. Well, and back on Priest, he's actually writing Justice League right now.
Yeah.
But yet, that book's going to be canceled and relaunched as a series of miniseries, and then all this, and 4 different Justice League books. But his run is real solid. He's a solid writer. His Deathstroke stuff, really good, that he's done for the Rebirth. It blows my mind sometimes.
But the point we were trying to make, though, is that where are you going?
I'm going to run upstairs to get a drink real quick.
Oh, okay. It wasn't the diversity that we were wanting to talk about. It was, when the fans reacted and quit buying the books, and the creators are blaming the fans, saying, well, you didn't buy it because you're a bigot. And now the fans are starting to fight back and saying, I'm not a bigot, and if you call me that, I'm not going to buy your stuff anymore.
Right.
Okay, and so that's what Comicgate is the creators treating the fans like garbage and calling them names and, implying that they're not smart enough to understand what's going on in the books. And even if they don't understand, even if they're not smart enough to understand, they understand that they're spending their money on your book, and if they don't like it, they're not going to do it anymore.
Yeah, we're kind of trying to get away to a degree. I mean, a creator and a fan. While we are fans, probably the better term would be we are customers.
Exactly. And so the way I look at it is the relationship between creators and fans is a symbiotic relationship, but the creators think they're the host. Okay?
Right.
And it's almost backwards the way it works in comics is the customers, the fans, are the ones that have to provide customer service. And the creators can treat you any way they want. And like I said, there's tons of creators out there that are nice and, they understand what's going on.
They're appreciative.
Jim Ballant standing for, 12 hours a day at San Diego with, 50 people in his line doing free sketches. Mm-hmm. Even though he knows they're going to end up on eBay, he still does them for free because he knows that without them, he doesn't have a job.
Well, Linsner's kind of the same way. Really
Linsner's
nice.
Great, and if anyone could have Palmiotti, but if anybody could have an ego in comics, it'd be Linsner, George Perez, those guys. Bernie Wrightson could have had an ego.
Oh yeah.
But you couldn't meet nicer people at a convention than those 3 guys.
Yeah, and I mean, he would stand there and just, talk with you about everything. And there again, he was appreciative. Mike Grell, another old time guy, appreciative that you took the time to buy his stuff and enjoy it.
Yeah.
And I want to say that the creators now are losing that. The ones that came up in the 80s and in the 90s and in today's society, today's creators are losing. I've lost that.
Yeah.
And it's the me generation.
Right.
And that goes also to show, and something we were talking about earlier about the...
we are actually the me generation,
right? We were talking about a little bit earlier about the charging sketches and people selling them on eBay.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
And so the creators are getting discouraged about that because they'll do a piece of art for someone and they'll put it up on eBay and make all this money. But that's just a small percentage of your fans that are not even fans or customers or whatever you want to call them that are doing that. There are thousands upon thousands more that are doing it, are cherishing it, bagging and boarding it, putting it in a frame, sticking it on the wall.
Yeah.
Those are the guys that are going to continue buying your product.
Thanks. Now I feel really bad.
Now, the other
Well,
ones,
I mean, things happen.
you
don't
do.
know. You don't
Right.
know why a fan is selling
Right,
something
and
on
and
eBay.
you know,
Right.
I've said it before. I had a beautiful Poison Ivy sketch. I paid Linsner, like 20, 40, maybe $60 at the top. I think
it was 60.
60, yeah. I needed the money. I sold it. To take care of something. I will not have that back. It was a one of a kind deal.
but some of them are
but,
just letting that small percentage annoy
yeah.
them to where they're hurting the larger amount of people.
Right, like Adam Hughes, his sketches or his commissions now, because he doesn't do sketches anymore. You have to commission something, and he's charging like $1,500 for a commission. Well, someone sold one on eBay the other day for $2,000, so now he's going to start charging $2,000. Well, you know what you've done when you do that, when you keep raising your price compared to what it's going for on eBay. You've priced the common fan out of it. Now the only people that can afford to commission your stuff are the guys that are going to flip it.
Yeah.
Right.
So it just when you react like that, all you're doing is punishing the little guy.
You're just overreacting, and
Right.
that's punishing the
I-
little guy.
And it honestly, it makes me wish that 15 years ago when we were in Dallas and he was there and he was charging 80, that I hadn't have gone, holy crap, $80,
Yeah.
and had bought a sketch. But $80 at the time when everyone else was charging 15 and 20.
Well,
It was hard to justify.
I blame Neil Adams. I'm gonna find a way to blame him on everything I can.
Well, there's an example of a creator that treats fans like garbage, and
You don't want to buy
he's
this guy's
been
book.
at it.
Buy my book.
He's been at it a long time.
Yep.
He's one of the greatest comic artists to ever work in the industry.
While some fans don't get along with him, he is also an advocate of helping his fellow creators, though.
Right.
One of the biggest advocates.
Terry is pro Adams because he got to go have dinner with Neil Adams.
I did get to have
Well,
dinner.
but what I'm
I
saying
know,
though is
right.
he does do that. He
does.
He's great with he works a lot with the Hero Initiative
Yep.
and all that. And I appreciate that about Neil Adams.
Yes.
Sure.
But in the conventions, he's a dick.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
He can be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Oh yeah.
I did
And
like you said,
or he could be the nicest guy you ever meet.
Yeah. Well,
It
and-
just depends on I guess time of day or who the
That-
last customer was or
yeah, his
fan was.
medications.
it's also, with my experience hadn't been that bad with him. I actually enjoyed because I got to sit down and have dinner with him. I got to
Right.
know
No,
him.
you
You got to talk to
Right.
him away from the convention.
Right.
Right.
And even though when I'm talking with him in that particular situation, he has this. He's from New York, and he
Right.
has this New
Oh, yeah.
York sensibility about him,
Yeah.
and that's kind of the way New Yorkers go, and,
Well,
and it's kind of off-putting to a lot of people.
It is, and I got marketing tips from the guy. It didn't help the weekend, but he can be a nice guy.
Yeah.
But my blame on is that when we first met him at Comic-Con, when we first went, he was charging $5
Yeah.
for a signature. Now,
Well,
I don't know if he's the one that started that.
When we saw him at Comic-Con, he gave you X amount free, and then after that, it was $5.
$5 when Kenny and I met him the first time, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When we all
we
went,
went the second
it was like
time,
you got X
yeah.
amount free, and
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
But now
$5
he's
after.
charging $50 a signature now.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, and I think that's because of the people turning around and flipping the books.
Yeah. Well,
You know, and
maybe.
yeah.
But you know what? If you commission something from any other business,
Mm-hmm.
say I come to you and ask you to design a book cover for me, and you say, okay, well that's going to be $1,000, and I give you $1,000, and you design the book cover for me. I decide I don't. Well, you know what? I'm going to give this to my friend over there and sell it to him for $2,000. That's perfectly fine. That's called business. That's what you pay for a service, and what you do with the product after that is up to you.
Right.
You've paid the asking price. So if I said Neil Adams, but Adam Hughes, if he draws a commission and he charges you $1,500 for it, what you do after that, you've paid his $1,500 asking price.
Right.
What you do with the commission after that is up to you. It's your property.
Right.
But they don't see it that way.
Right.
So, but the Neil Adams thing is, it's Neil Adams is a difficult subject.
He is, because
he can be a great guy, and
right.
he is great for other creators.
Mm-hmm.
He's helped out tons of Golden Age creators, which
Right.
is very admirable. And he will give you his honest opinion on your art.
Brutal as it may be.
Yeah.
But he could be straightforward and not be a dick.
Right.
Okay. And like the kid that said, "Hey, my friend is drawing this comic, and he wanted me to give you a copy of it," and Neil Adams said, "I don't want that. It's garbage. I don't want to see it." And the guy was like, I mean, he was doing it for his friend who couldn't make it to the con, and the guy was like, "But I was supposed to give it to you. I mean, he didn't want any money for it. I'm not going to look at that. I'm just going to throw it in the trash as soon as you walk away."
Yeah.
I'm like, really? You couldn't just go ahead and say, "Oh yeah, thanks," and when the guy walks away, throw it in the trash?
Yeah. Thanks. I'll take a look at it.
Or instead of something else, Neil take the time to look at it. Right, this is trash. This is what you need to do.
Yeah.
And give it back to say, hey, give this back to your friend.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Your perspectives are all off or whatever. Yeah. Or, when a fan walks up and asks you to sign his complete Neil Adams Batman hardcover, don't say, "I ain't signing that unless you buy something, you cheapskate."
Or
the thing I thought when Neil Adams,
I know we're picking on Neil, and we don't mean to. I'm sorry.
When Neil Adams said that, I was thinking, what you could have said is, and this is probably what happens to him a lot. He gets a lot of stuff submitted to him. He probably could have said, "Look, I appreciate it, but I get so much stuff submitted to me, I really can't take this."
Or just say, I'm not accepting.
Right.
I'm not accepting submissions, and I'm not doing portfolio reviews.
Right.
I'm here for the fans.
Right.
Do you realize what would happen if you said, "I'm here for the fans"?
But not call the guy's stuff trash,
But I got to meet Nick Darrington, and I had to do a sketch. I still have that sketch. He was a nice person. He was appreciative of it. I don't know. I don't know why they think that they're entitled to treat us, when I say us because I am a fan too, like that. And I would love to hear some insights, on some creative.
And like I said,
I'm trying to think the word here. Response, instead of just saying, "Well, you're an idiot and you're a fan," and blowing it off. I mean.
And at the time, creatives can also be very touchy about their work,
Yes.
I mean, they will take it to heart. So, I mean, sometimes you got to understand, it sets them off.
And it's like I said.
But they got to...
Working in a comic shop, I know that comic fans aren't the most tactful people. And you're right. There are some of them out there that could use a lesson in hygiene and hope that they listen.
So while the creator will take their work to heart and things you say about it, that they need to step back, and
they need to remember where the money comes from. It doesn't come from Marvel. It comes from the fans. Mm-hmm. The fans give it to Marvel, and Marvel gives it to them, or DC, or Image, or whoever.
And I kind of spoke about this with John Romita Jr. when he was in Dallas, and because I was getting an Amazing Spider-Man annual signed, that it was his first pro work. And he looked at it. He goes, "Oh, this is crap. This is horrible." I go, "No, this is what I loved. I loved your older style, not your newer style." But he goes, but he was receptive to that. And he goes, "Well, my newer style's evolving still." I was like, "Okay, I was like, I understand that." But he himself was offended, by his own stuff that he'd done in his older stuff. And I was like, "No, this is what I'm a fan of." But he was real nice and polite about it, And so, I think it's the newer creators. Honestly, it's a problem. The
it's
newer
not
writers.
Just the newer ones. There's some older ones out there that are
getting crouchety.
Yeah. Well, and like when I met Carmine Infantino, and I handed him those 5 books, and he like, "Yeah, I'm only signing 2." And I was like, "Oh, okay. Well, let me pick out the 2." And I handed him my Flash archives and something else.
Yeah.
And then he opens up the Flash archives and he goes, "Oh, just give me the goddamn things." And then he grabs them out of my hand. I mean, but the guy's like at the time was like 80.
80,
Right.
So, you know, I kind of understood, you know,
Mm-hmm.
older men are like that.
Oh, I've gotten
I'm
more
you
and
know,
more grouchy as I get older.
I'm an old curmudgeon.
yeah.
But you know, I think every generation has some creators that, I mean, and it's like that in music too.
Right.
You can meet one musician that's just happy that you know who they are, and the very next musician you meet is like thinks you're an ant beneath the heel of his shoe or something. But with the comics, I mean, they don't make a lot of money.
No.
So you lose 50 fans off your book, that could mean cancellation. Just 50.
Yeah. That could mean your job as well as an
Yeah.
artist on that book. It means you got to go find somebody else to hire you to do another book.
And I don't know how many creators I've met over the years that the way they treated me has resulted in me not buying their stuff anymore.
Right.
Or not even just how they've treated me, but how they've reacted on Twitter or something. Alex DeCampi, I'm sorry, I used to buy everything that she wrote, and now if I see her name, I just pass it by. Now, if she wrote Catwoman, I don't know.
What changed that though?
Just her verbally berating fans on Twitter,
Okay.
and it's just ridiculous. So,
Yes. So what is there a solution to this? How do we?
well, and see, that's another thing is DC came out with this new social media policy for all of their people, and it's basically saying don't get caught up in conversations like about politics where people easily anger. Just stay away from that kind of stuff, and if you can, then don't have social media. And so a lot of people took that as they did that because of Ethan Van Sciver, saying, well, he agitates the fans, so we're going to come up with this policy to stop him from doing that. It was actually to protect people like Ethan Van Sciver, because he drew one sketch 15 years ago or something of Sinestro and put my struggle. Well, Hitler's book Mein Kampf meant my struggle, and so now he's a Nazi.
Right.
It was a joke, and 10 or 15 years ago, whenever he did it, everyone thought it was funny. Well, now he's a Nazi because of it.
Mm-hmm.
And so, he goes on and defends himself, and if you defend yourself after you've been called a Nazi, well, now you're a raging Nazi, okay? So, same thing with being called a racist. If someone calls you a racist, and you say, I'm not a racist, oh, of course you deny it, So,
Well, and
Everything's blown out of proportion.
10 to
Right.
15 years ago, it was a different time also.
yeah.
Hell,
Well,
8 years
you
ago.
know what the difference was, is there was no social media 15 years
Well,
ago.
well,
So,
I saw an article today.
if you
talking-
go out looking for something to be offended by,
You're gonna find it.
you're going to find it.
this wrestler that we used to like did a tweet 2011, 7 years ago, calling his partner, at the time, gay.
Yeah.
And he comes out now and says, hey, I'm sorry, because it got thrown back in his face. 7 years ago, this
Yeah.
was tweeted out, and now the guy's apologizing for now. So there again, you're going to be able to go find
Well,
things from the past, and
I read an article online the other day about Friends, the TV show Friends,
Mhm.
and about how it was sexist, homophobic, and body shaming, and should be taken off Netflix. People are contacting Netflix, telling them to take Friends off of it because of that.
And that was a big staple show.
Yeah.
Are we going to go back now and redo the Bible because we find stuff in there?
Well, they've already done that.
More stuff.
yeah.
I think it's good that DC kind of was trying to say, you need to mind your P's and Q's and what you're saying. There's no need to get into conflicts with your.
But they need
with
to
your
the
fans.
policy is to stop their creators from getting ensnared into that stuff.
Right.
Because there's people out there that are going to goad you into an argument, and as soon as you make a point that they don't like, they're going to contact DC. Oh, you need to fire this guy
because he doesn't see the same world as I do.
Right.
He sees it as it is, and I see it in Puppy Dogs and Rainbows.
There's nothing
Essentially.
wrong with puppy dogs.
There's not nothing wrong with Puppy. That's the one thing they're going to take from this show. Dad doesn't like Puppy Dogs and Rainbows.
Look at the carrying. Look at the. Carrington's taking.
I'm just saying they see it different than what the real
Yes.
is. That's where I'm going with that. Please don't kill me, and please don't get the stormtroopers that are upstairs riled up.
But one of the things that this
calmed
guy,
him down.
Diversity in Comics, has done is he started a movement on Twitter. It's called #MoveTheNeedle. And he used to roast comics, okay? He'd get, the latest issue of Squirrel Girl and go through it and make fun of it. Of course, he was sexist for doing that.
We've done it all the time.
But
Yeah, I'm a sexist.
he decided he wants to be more positive, and so now he does reviews of comics and says you should go buy this comic. This was a really good comic. It's how why I started picking up the latest few issues of Spectacular Spider-Man was because I saw a review he did, and I was like, well, that does sound like a good story, and I went and picked it up, and it really was good. And so now, anytime a YouTuber or any kind of comics reviewer, it doesn't matter who they are, they could be the biggest raging social justice warrior out there, but if they say, hey, this is a good book, you'll buy it, you post the picture of the books that you bought, and you tag the creators, and, if it's a DC book, you tag DC, and you put #MoveTheNeedle, hey, I'm buying this because Terry said on Comic Book Straight Talk said it was a good book, #MoveTheNeedle, and that way, instead of it being all negative and saying, oh, you should fire Ethan Van Sciver, DC is saying, oh, well, they're out there recommending Green Lantern, and people are picking it up, and they like it, and, it's more positive that way. People are willing to do things when it's more positive, and so I like that idea.
Yeah.
But what's funny though is he recommended Sideways. The new
DC book. Yeah, that.
And so he recommended it, and someone, did hey, I bought this because Diversity in Comics reviewed it and said it was really good. #MoveTheNeedle, and one of the creators replied back that, I don't know that I want your money if you're associating with someone like Diversity in Comics. Really?
That sounds like Dido, isn't it?
No, it wasn't Didio.
What, Didio?
No, it was Brandon something.
You keep that attitude, you'll soon not be getting our money.
I mean,
Right.
yeah,
you may be out of a job.
Right. And that's what we're saying is, we don't want you to be out of a job because you're a good creator. But quit, making fun of us and talking down to us and acting like we don't matter, because we do.
It's kind of like we're the orphans from Oliver Twist, and
Right.
and they're the porridge guy,
Right.
I want more porridge from you.
More?
More?
May I have some more porridge?
More work? Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So I
Just cracked myself up.
it really bothers me that they talk down to the fans. And I've never really got into this whole social justice warrior versus Nazis and all that other stuff. But it was really irritating that anytime someone would critique something, oh, you're, alt-right Nazi or blah,
Brian
blah,
Michael
blah.
Bendis, I'll say it. If you didn't
Yeah.
like his way of doing this thing, then you were
racial,
racist.
you were a racist, misogynistic homophobe.
Yeah.
And it's funny though, is because outside of Riri, his stuff really wasn't social justice
No.
warrior type stuff.
People had problems with his stories. I actually thought his stories were pretty good.
Yeah.
Decent, you know.
I did think it was neat when he left how he had himself drawn into the police station as the crazy person yelling stuff. Because that was like it was something that always happened in all of his books. There was always some crazy person being walked through a police station yelling something. And
that's cool, yeah.
so
Well,
the last
he's
issue
Italian,
of,
isn't he?
Huh?
Is he Italian?
I don't know.
I thought he was, maybe not. Not that it matters, I'm just saying,
But you
it
know
goes
what?
back to that whole priest thing. Only Michael
Yeah.
Bendis can write Italian characters now or
Yeah.
something, you know.
But you know what? I'm trying to think of how to say this. Go ahead.
No, that's fine.
You guys
That's
say
fine.
something else.
What do you got, Terry? What are you going to say?
I wasn't gonna say. I was listening to you guys.
Yeah.
Great.
I got lost when Dal started talking about Bendis being Italian. I'm like, what?
Sorry.
But okay, so Squirrel Girl. Okay.
Yeah, okay.
To me, that book is utter garbage. I couldn't even make it through a whole issue. Okay. But that doesn't mean that I'm sexist because I don't like Squirrel Girl. And it doesn't mean that I'm sexist because I don't like Erica Henderson's art. Because one of my favorite artists is a woman. So, but that was their reaction. If you said, oh, Squirrel Girl sucks, well, you're sexist because a woman draws it. Well, no. Actually, one of my favorite artists is Joelle Jones, so I can't be because I'm sexist. Maybe it's because I think her art sucks. Okay?
And it's just not for you. You don't like that
Right.
style of art.
I'm not saying
I agree.
they need to quit making it.
No.
Okay, I'm just saying it's not for me. I don't like it, and I'm going to say that I don't like it because we live in the greatest country in the world, and we have freedom of speech, and I can say whatever the hell I want.
That's right. And that's why Baskin Robbins has 12 different flavors of ice cream.
32.
32. See, I knew I was wrong. I was thinking with
So you critique,
It's
but
like
that- but then-
Mike always says. That's why they make chocolate and vanilla.
So you do a critique, though. I mean, instead of people coming back and critiquing your critique, they
Right.
start attacking you
Right.
personally.
They're
Instead
instead
of-
of them coming back and saying, well, what we were trying to accomplish here was this, they come back and say, oh, you're just a sexist, you racist, bigot, homophobe, misogynist. Well, that
He hit all
doesn't...
four of you, didn't he? No, I'm kidding. I'm sorry. Joking, guys. No, but he's right.
You notice I was looking at Terry when
I
said
did notice that, yes.
that.
There's a lot of footsteps running upstairs. I don't know if something's going on, but I'll
Yeah.
wrap this up and kind
We
of
should
get off
probably
here.
wrap this up because
Find some
it
place.
never ends well for a Death Star.
It doesn't.
It
Yeah.
end well
And,
for
there's a lot of
I-
lot of metal I'm hearing upstairs. So.
I think we sort of got our point across.
I think so.
I think we took some roundabout ways
Right.
at times.
Yeah.
So you
And
know,
and-
just let us know what you think. And again, if you want to critique it, but you don't have to attack the critiquer.
Right.
Critique our critique of people critiquing other critiques.
Right. And I'll definitely when I do the hashtags on this hashtag the guy that's diversified
Diversity and
comics and so
and
comics.
Yes.
And
Hashtag
so
move the needle.
yeah, I'll
Hashtag
hashtag that too. And so I would kind of like to hear something from him if he has anything to say positively to us.
He can roast our.
He can
It
roast
doesn't-
our
he can
podcast.
roast our
if he wants.
podcast.
It does. Critiques don't even have to be positive. I mean, they can be negative.
no, they- right,
Again,
right,
it's
but just don't
there's no
attack
need to
us,
Be
to-
attacking it
right.
because that's
Yeah. Don't go to the fan and say, well, you're an idiot and a racist.
yeah.
Right.
Having a discussion without
Alt-right Nazi.
Yeah.
like we'll have discussions here, and sometimes we'll get a little heated, but we
Yeah.
don't go attacking each other.
Well,
Or if we do, it's usually in fun.
I don't know. My tires were slashed last time. I'm just saying. I think Terry did it. No, I'm just kidding. All right, guys. We're going to get out of here. Definitely reply to us and comment on this article or posting. Anything?
And just to be clear, not all creators
Right.
And not all fans.
and not
Right.
all fans.
Right. All right. Y'all have
All
a
right,
great
take care.
evening. Thanks.
Bye.